All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Margie O'Leary. We are here for our audit committee meeting. The full board is present. It's June 5th. We have a full agenda, but we're going to move really quick because we are getting a bit of a late start. First up on the agenda is review the minutes from our April 3rd meeting. Those were included with the meeting materials from the Voorheesville meeting. Anyone have any comments on the minutes? Okay, great. Next up, we have claims auditor reports. You want to take those, Jim?
I included the summary of the entire year for the claims auditor reports, multi-fund, payroll, and capital, so that you could review those. Those are in narrative form, but there is a summary sheet that has all of the pieces from it summarized down in just a spreadsheet. So if you want to review any of those, I'll be happy to discuss those.
Jim, I would say in the interest of time, no need to go through all of them. I just wanted to comment, I know we've circulated the claims auditor reports, but to put everything together in a package for the entire year, I think is a level of transparency that we haven't been accustomed to here. So I think it's great, and even though we're continuing to see exceptions, I think it's a credit to our claims auditor and your staff, Jim, that they're identifying these issues and working to remedy them. So I don't see any need. Anyone have questions on any of the items identified?
I assume the people have been helped to see how to do it, yeah. Does it seem like a trend of a couple people, maybe they just forgot the process or?
Yeah, I mean, from what I noticed, most of the exceptions, or not most, but a lot of them tend to fall into the athletic category. But they also appear to be related to events that come up on really short notice, like being invited to a championship game or sectionals where you may not know the week before that you're making sectionals.
Yep.
So I understand the timing on those can be really difficult. And then just since I noticed, one of them was a tax and finance penalty, New York State tax and finance penalty. Those are commonly waived if you call and make the request.
We have actually sent letters
Yes,
and
we have.
called and attempted to. That one was one that they were unwilling to work with.
Okay, all right. That's unfortunate, but it does happen. If it's not your first time.
Yeah.
It may get denied. Okay. All right, anyone else have questions or comments on the claims auditor reports? Okay, great. Current function level status for the general fund?
There's one item I'm going to point out. It is 9950 transfer to other funds. That spiked up significantly because, well, it all goes back to GASB 86. So you have to record all of your leases, which is what our installment purchases are counted as, in the year when they happen. So that's what that item is, a little over $1 million purchase that we made for the technology. That gets drawn down over the 5 years of the process. It just came into place for last year, so we were right while we were doing the purchase, so it didn't pop up on the radar until afterwards. So.
And Jim, when is this current through?
Current through Friday, actually.
Through Friday?
Yeah.
Okay. So my question was, one, amazing job in terms of budgeting, because we're pretty close on, almost every category of expenses. The one question I had, and maybe I'm not reading it right, was we seem to be well under the budget in terms of what's expensed and encumbered.
In which part?
So for like looking at the 22-23 budget, our bottom line number was the 28,146.
Correct.
And then what we have expensed and encumbered is close to 24. So we're a little.
So there's a very large payroll coming out with the 26 check option. So that will bring that number much closer to the 20.
All right, good. And then we also have payroll over the summer, right?
But that doesn't count towards this
July.
because July 1 starts New Year's.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay.
But there is a significant payroll that quite a few people take 5 checks all at once, so it will bring it up there.
Okay, so that number will increase significantly as we get closer to the end of the year.
It'll get much closer to the number I put on the fund balance and reserve funds chart.
Okay, good. All right, great. Anyone else have questions?
No.
Told you I could do it, Rachel.
Amazing, thank you.
All right, Jim, you wanna talk through the reserves and the fund balances?
Sure. The estimate as of 5/23, which would be very close to my estimate today, is that our revenues will be 27.8 roughly million, and our payouts, our expenses will be a little under 28.6. But that includes that 850,000 that we had to pay out for the tax certiorari. So roughly, without that, we would be flat. Knowing that we have to allocate that 801 between the reserves and fund balances to make sure that that's wiped out and put money in places where we know we need it. As COVID is not over, of course, but receding into the background, it does seem like we're beyond the point where claims would be made. So I'm suggesting that we eliminate that reserve for insurance that we had for COVID. The tax certiorari, it's the 4th year. When you have 4 years and there's nothing outstanding anymore, you have to clear out the reserve. We already cleared out 850 of it for the actual payout, but the other 200 will have to come back. Capital projects, we need to get to that 4.5 million, so putting as much as we can in there. Assigned unappropriated fund balance is basically just our encumbrances, which run roughly around $100,000 every year, so that's what I placed in there as a assigned appropriated fund balance is our offset to tax, which is what was approved as part of the budget. That number was included in the budget. The assigned unappropriated fund balance is our 4% cap. So just took next year's budget amount times 4% and set that as the number. You'll see that the bottom line is a little under 7.5 million. And if you look at starting reserves and fund balances and you take away the deficit, you get that same number down below. So that's the checkpoint. That would be my recommendation. On the page that was included with it is the actual actions the board will be taking tonight, if you so choose, to implement that plan.
Jim, Tricia caught a typo just in the end of the last sentence of the resolution.
Okay,
I think we have to say August 2023 board meeting.
that would be correct.
Okay, all right. I didn't catch anything else. Thank you,
That was all I
Tricia.
noticed, yeah.
Okay, and as far as the tax certiorari, we don't have any basis to establish a new reserve, right?
Not unless there's an open tax cert, and we do not have one at this point.
Good. Anyone else have questions on?
No, thank you for running through this because it's item 7.1 in our budget letter. Glad to have the clarification.
It is easy to understand the way you lay it out. I appreciate that.
Sure.
I try to make it as simple as possible, so anyone could understand it by looking at that chart. Happy to answer any questions, of course, anytime.
Great. All right, next up, we have the March and April school lunch fund profit and loss.
So for March, we were down $82,000. However, for April, we were only down 71,000, so it's a little bit better. And after talking to Jim today, it sounds like we're gonna stay around.
We're projecting low to mid 80s as our ending point, which will require a budget adjustment, which we'll bring to you in July, so.
Yeah, that was when I was looking at that, I was like, okay, at some point, we're gonna run out of money.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I was thinking, because I was looking at the reserve stuff, is this something you even reserve for because you don't know what your revenues are gonna look like?
We have a good estimate of what the revenues are gonna look like. This is more going to be, we're actually spending this much, so we have to adjust the C fund budget. And then we have to move money in the general fund to the transfer to offset.
All right. Anyone have questions? No, thank you. All right, next up, we have the Foundation Aid Increase Plan Review. You want to take that, Jim?
So the state requires us, and this is the last year, thank goodness, if you have a 10% increase or a $10 million increase, I'd rather have the latter than the former, but still, we did have more than 10%. So we have to put a plan together that says, here's how we're using that money. And that's what I've done with this, taking the items out of the budget that we included. Originally, it was going to be the high impact tutoring items. I changed them to AIS because that's more general and can be used more, in more ways. In total, the list that we've put together is $1.38 million, and the actual increase is 1.35. So even if they go through and say, okay, that one's a little too high or that one's a little too high, we've still got it covered, so.
Okay.
It's something that needs to be sent to the state by July 1, so it has to be reviewed before that.
Okay, yeah, thank you for putting this together, Jim. I looked at it, I mean, it's not all that detailed, but I think, this is a template and we've provided the required information.
Correct.
And reducing class size is blank, but that's because our class sizes are, we don't intend to change them, I don't think, at least not based on foundation.
No,
Right.
no. If they get to a certain level, we add a section, that's pretty much what we do.
Right, exactly.
Is this a plan you have to submit to the state,
Yes, by July 1.
This is the last year that we have to do so.
just as we're looking at it? They're not, doesn't have to be any details, just.
No.
Just has to be a
I know.
summary. I mean, of course, we can provide the details if they're looking for them, that's not a problem.
I think we've met the requirement,
And this is similar to what we did last year.
yeah. I mean, I guess the only thing that's, I don't wanna say only thing, but the social emotional health section where we're adding the 2 new positions, and maybe we could beef that up, but I'm not stuck on it.
They're basically looking for, inputs only. They're not looking for the results you've achieved, the use of these resources.
No, that's a totally different thing that we're fighting through on the ESSA funds.
Whatever happened with that?
Still in
Nothing,
review, again.
2 months later, after we sent it in.
Okay. All right, good. Well, I think it looks fine. I'm not, suggesting we need to beef it up, just commenting that there's not a lot of detail. All right, good. Anyone else have comments or questions on the plan? No. Thank you. Okay. Great. All right, last item, we have a couple of policies, 6240 investments and 6700 purchasing. These policies require an annual review. And frankly, I can't recall if we've reviewed them annually in the past. Rachel says
Not
no.
since 2018, this is in the body.
Yeah, I saw one is 2018. Well, one of them had 2020, I think.
Yeah, we had to fix that one schedule,
Yeah, we
remember,
fixed-
with the contract.
Yeah, the $20,000 reference, we cleaned that up because we got questions in the past. So I know we've touched them in the not too distant past. I took a look at them. I don't see the need for any, screeching revisions. Tricia pointed out that there's a new purchasing policy. Do you want to comment on that?
I think it would be hard for us to do that tonight. I sent it to the full board. It was a NISBA suggestion so that we could comply with the New York State Green Purchase Program. I might not be calling it the right thing.
It's a green procurement.
green procurement. So I think we should, I mean, it'd probably be easy for us to try to comply in case we wanted to take advantage of that. Does that make sense, Frank?
Yeah, that was the one thing that we've been talking
Right.
about, trying to get
It's been
to.
on our to-do list.
And I called NISBA and said, hey, do you have it? And then they made a policy. It's
Yes.
because of me, by the way. Just saying.
So
But-
we tonight could just do our annual review and keep what we have and then try to adopt the new provisions during policy if you'd like.
I think that probably makes the most sense, and depending on what else we have on our next policy agenda, which I know is
Code of conduct.
gigantic,
Mhm.
if we could fit that in, I'd say why not, if we can get it done more quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for purposes of the annual review, I'm satisfied with the current version of the policy. Anyone else have concerns?
Just on 6240, can we switch from the his, her to the, just their line 3?
Yep.
And I don't even know if we need to run that through.
It would just be a quick revision, but I'm sure we could knock it out in policy.
Make you feel like accomplishment and whole.
Just another one. Well, I mean, if nothing else, we make a quick fix and update the date and then we've looked at it.
Yeah. For the record. so.
Right, exactly.
Great.
Okay, I think, anyone else have comments on the two policies?
No.
I didn't-
Great, okay, that concludes our agenda, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing through this year again. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.